I've done healing with these. Friends do that.
Well, you're here with Brightflame. Let's just talk about Brightflame's book and Brightflame. I want to hear more about your life, what brought you to this work, what brought you to New York, what was your childhood like? I mean,
no, that's way beyond. That's way beyond.
We're here.
I am a native New Yorker. You said I'm from New York. That's not where we're recording now, because I inched my way across New Jersey and landed in very eastern Pennsylvania. Years ago, like really decades ago, I felt this kind of a roar in my gut that, the goddess, the Earth Mama, is awakening and she will rise. And it was around the time when there were so many goddess circles out there. Maybe, in some circles they were witchcraft circles or Wiccan circles, but a lot of places they were just eclectic goddess circles because people were feeling the need for the Earth Mother to rise, that she was like, I have to be present, and we needed her present with all the crap going on in the world. And to counteract the patriarchal stuff that's been building for millennia since the Neolithic. So that's kind of one of the geneses of my book, The Working, was bringing that info, that sentiment into the world in a bigger way, but couched in contemporary fantasy.
So The Working is what you call Solarpunk. And tell us more about what Solarpunk is.
Well, Solarpunk, when I heard what it was, kind of the short version is creating futures where all beings of the earth can thrive. Like, how do we get there? How do we create that? And what does it look like? So it's a genre, a vibe, an aesthetic. There's solar punks out there doing this work already, because part of the punk aspect of it is we're not going to wait for anybody else to create this for us. We're just going to do it.
Right on.
Exactly. And that's like what I feel like a lot. Sorry to cut you off, Brightflame. But if I must interject, I'm like, this is where I feel like a lot of this patriarchal backlash is like what I feel like when I even do tarot divinations about it. Like, it feels like this kind of ghost of a reverberation of a cursed tongue from a past power that no longer has the roots like the goddess mother does and will eternally have in us, because we love eternally. There's this kind of real, beautiful, intense, I don't know, sensation you feel as a creative and as an artist and as an individual. And I feel like America as a country really does fight for those kinds of diversities and beliefs and equalities in certain regards, you know what I mean? And in a time like right now, things feel so bafflingly confusing. So to see your work come from, you said you started this 20 years ago.
More than 20 years ago.
More than 20 years ago.
To be true. It basically, in my spiritual tradition, I talk to the gods. I talk to my ancestors. I travel on the astral. A foremother I met, like somebody from millennia back, and I don't know my actual blood lineage more than like a couple generations back. But this foremother came through and told me some of the basis of what's in the working and said, you need to write about this, you need to bring it out to the world. So some of the voices of the old ones in the novel, really, those are collectively the voice of my foremother, who basically said, and this is a Neolithic person, a spiritual person from the Neolithic, who basically said, and I'm paraphrasing, these aren't her words, if you folks don't get your shit together soon, you really, the whole web of life is going to collapse. And the planet will survive, and some form of life will be there, but not what you're used to. And likely not humans. And likely not the plant communities that you know of now. And so many species will just be doomed, And you need to get word out. You need to do something about it. Yeah. So she didn't tell me what.
Well,
right?
and that's where I believe that the world is actually in a better place than the American propaganda were given by the surface face of what America looks like at the global stage of like the UN and global politics and policy and that kind of story of humanity that is a part of, what was that word again? Egregore. So it's like this concept of these egregores or these social constructs that are hearkening from these ancestral powers that have really left us shooken, so much so that we don't know our story more than a couple generations back. This is how powerfully a rift, this claw of retaliation against the feminine has like struck the bosom of the great goddess, and she's like, what the fuck? And she's like, where is this coming from? Because it's not possible to destroy me. Like, this is what I'm feeling from the earth, is like, I'm just like, it's really intense. Like, I'm like, this is what caused me to transition. This is what I was like, oh, no. It's now or never. Like, I can continue to live my life, or I can live like vigilantly in reverence for the things I believe in, which includes myself and what that looks like for me,
We are all the goddess. We are all the earth, right?
We all are.
And this has been going on. It's not just the recent backlash, right?
No.
This has been going on for millennia, since the Neolithic, basically, when the sky gods came through and started to hoard resources and weapons used on a massive level, especially to be able to hoard resources and claim land and claim resources, became a thing. And that's the turning point. And that built and built and built and built till now, to what we have now. So the root of all of it is what I name as patriarchy. I barely use that word in the novel. I did use it a tiny bit, and I think it's really cool that you two kind of did an augury with my book. You opened to a page and you saw the word egregore. And that was basically describing what we're talking about, describing what I call the monstrosity in the book, which is the conglomeration through time of all of this patriarchal stuff that's turned into white supremacy, fascism, oligarchy, that's turned into extractive things, fossil fuel extraction,
Yeah, it's like a constant
Wall Street,
meditation on it, and
yeah.
like this constant also artistic masturbation around it's really disgusting. Like American culture is really irreverently salutes the flag of misogyny.
Yeah.
Well, this is part of Thanksgiving dinner. It's like, what the fuck? It's really kind of awful how shut the fuck up and get in the kitchen America really is when you think about women in just science or math or in just engineering or anything. It's America is also at the forefront of it too. It's in times where these things were really being wrestled from this archaic period, the feminine too was always way more dynamic and way more able to resist and find love and find ways of communicating and diversifying and finding a way, the way that Gaia caught me, and then I was able to find a sense of community, and then now can do my kind of work and bring other people along. And it's this is that kind of solar punk continuation, is where I look to elders and wise people, and we all stand on shoulders of giants. As a trans woman, I don't have many people to stand next to, or even to lean on while I'm hey, I need help. It's people like you who really have been doing this work, been looking around and holding space for this kind of dialogue to even have a safe container.
Well, speaking of container, I should mention for our listeners that Arta and I came out to Brightflame's home, and we got to walk around the property and see all the beautiful botanical native plants that are growing here. We enjoyed a really lovely dinner seated out on the deck, and we got that forest bath, we got that sacred earth in between our toes, and it's been really a healing moment, and creating a container for this conversation, which really is centered in that goddess place, that earth-based space. And what a real treat for us to be able to record Baba Yaga Podcast here in this space. And the other thing I should mention is that it was Brightflame who told us when we had started the podcast that we'd better ask Baba Yaga for permission.
And we were actually, good point. Or as witches, duh. That's rule number one.
So we're here to beg for permission and pardon from Baba Yaga for our omission.
Yes.
Oh, here, right now, in my space.
Here we are next to the incredible river that's not far away.
And she is laughing and loving and having a great time, because both Gaia and I made separate altars that we kept shy from each other, and we did not speak of for a couple of weeks, and I had a really positive interaction with my altar, and you said the same, and now we're going to collaboratively unite the altar respectfully, because we feel we're okay, now we feel we're working with something, and it doesn't feel... But no, it was... Thank you for that suggestion, Brightflame. It was really nice to actually hold some space and be okay, let's look at the cards once again.
So here at the Pink Moon, what we brought from our divination to this moment is the idea that there needs to be a ritual or intention or spontaneous eruption, as it may be, of something that is going to bring together all the pieces of positive work that we've been doing. We've been working so hard for over a year on healing, on confronting and releasing trauma, on being there for each other in a way that's true to ourselves, on finding out what it is that our purpose is in this collaboration, and on and that this was a moment to release some of that negative energy, some of the negative like loops.
Yeah, because like there is like real what I feel is real carnage like felt on the land, and that blood and those tears and that karma, and those nerves that were felt like on the trauma body of the Mother Earth
And in our souls.
is recorded and is beating every day that sun rises and sets, and will continue to do so for eternity. And we don't know that great mystery, will whatever that is, but it's like, sorry, I got a little lost. But the point is like, we're finally in a space. Well, I feel, at least, I'm finally, for myself, in a space at 31 where I feel safe enough to, like, I just had a great meeting with my doctor today, from the Allentown Women's Center, talking about my hormone therapy, and at 31 having the scientific knowledge to regulate my hormone therapy so that I remain a little bit higher on my testosterone level, because I feel more comfortable with my body sustaining a little bit more testosterone while I continue my metamorphosis, which is going to take about a good 8 years. I don't want it to be so drastic. I want to unravel naturally, because I'm also doing mental exercises and bodybuilding and massaging my body for the long run, so it's like it's nice that I can check in with my doctor, like have an honest conversation about my mental health, bipolar, things that we're finding out on the DSM-5, like things people actually went to school for, and people were fighting wars and like fighting things, and like things were being used, and like it's really brutal, like it's really awful, everything that's happened, but it already happened. Do you know what I mean? And now we're having this discussion today. You're having this book. I'm coming to realizations. This is still a real moment. Those things have still happened, and they're not for naught. Do you know what I mean? They're not, it's not like this stuff just, and then like everything's done. It's we continue to do the work. We continue to hold the ritual. We continue to hold the space.
It'll never be done
Exactly.
because you're always creating the future.
And that's the beauty
there's,
of it.
It's not like that egregore, that overculture of domination.
It's a different mindset and approach.
And, accumulating wealth and all that. It's not like that's just going to disappear.
No.
Right now. And we can do our work with joy, with celebration, celebrating our bodies, celebrating our unifying our souls, bringing our souls together. We can, I got a flat, when you were talking about Baba Yaga and offering to her and having the altars, I got a flash of the witch's fire, that I'm not sure why I need to mention it, but I want to mention to you both about finding the witch's fire within you and letting that be your power and your energy, and take that as you will. That's coming from, I don't know where exactly, maybe Baba Yaga.
Yeah, I think it means different things for Gaia and I. Like, I bring out Gaia's inner bitch, while Gaia brings out my, like, did you take a nap and eat? All right, reconsider that. Like, and like, it's like we bring out different forms of flame that is eternal, that is necessary for survival, that burns at different rates,
It burns at different rates, but it's also the core of you, to hold that really preciously, and
the witch's
to
fire.
the witch's fire and to learn how to wield it,
Yes.
to learn how to bring it forward for the good of all, right?
Well, in your book, there's a character, Betsy, and she has the ability to send out her perception into the space and touch everyone, and then she sees who responded, who felt it, and that gives her some guidance as to what her place is in that space. And I think that's an example of a kind of witch's fire, which is that mercurial fire of connectivity and communication. And that's definitely what I feel is my job right now. Certainly as I'm writing my book, I'm looking to stay connected to people even while I have to be all by myself in my room. And that fire is what connects us. It keeps us connected even in those moments of solitude.
Yeah, just wait till you get to the end of my book and find out what the working is. Which actually, when I started writing it, I didn't know what the working was. But I mean, the gist of the book is the elders from the Neolithic reach through time and find this coven, and a modern coven in our time, and warn them that they have to do something to thwart this cataclysm that's on the horizon.
Yes.
In our time. And they need to find the working or the magic to do that.
Yes.
So it took me quite a few years to find what the working was.
Wow.
And it's real, it's very real.
Yes.
And so are some of the exercises in the book. Like what you described Betsy doing is something in my tradition we call dropped and open attention. And I embedded all these little gems in the book, actual practice that people can do. Yeah, because it's important. I feel like everybody needs these skills now to navigate the world and to really try to give us those solarpunk futures that we need.
That's what I'm realizing is like there's a certain point where I have to take up the shield and defend myself. You know, there's a certain point where I have to like be the person who's going to rescue the 2-year-old traumatized trans girl that was being brutalized. Lynn is like now 31 and has to take accountability for her life. You know, and it's like we all have to do that for ourselves in order to survive every day. But it's interesting when all of this is happening and you're like, you have a calling for a craft known as the artist, which is closely linked to the magician and the wizard and the magic. And, you know, early magic was cave art and music and dance and poetry and like all of this kind of communicative formatting. And I don't know, it's like this kind of connectivity is something that we can like explore right now. And it's really, I think it's really nice that, you know, we have a space where we can make art and it's not AI. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not like, I think AI is great for a lot of things. It could probably figure out a lot of logistics that can help stabilize certain things. Sure. But I think when it comes to really understanding this space of the working, which is something I don't know, you know, much about, but I feel like as someone who at a young age took on the devotion of craftsmen and was like, oh, I'm gonna be an artist. I don't know what the hell an artist is. But as I'm evolving and having my life and witnessing and having things fall apart and move through me, the facet or phenomena of the artist or art and the devotion to like aestheticism as a mantra and like understanding and studying the anthropology of like civilization and the human hand to try to like make sense of the world through time is the beauty of it all too, you know, is like that is the magic. Like that is like I've had, you know, episodes, not to bring up my bipolar and speak of it like, oh yeah, my bipolar, but like I've had episodes that were, you know, because I wasn't sleeping enough, they were semi-hallucinistic, but they were also like of the land and like indigenous and portals and like arrows and light, and I was like having visions of people in my life and of myself that were of like I could tell were like shadow sides of my own representation. It was very Jungian in like psychophenomenia, but it was archetypally like patriarchal by nature of like positive and negative, we'll say, you know.
Yeah.
It was these kinds of somatic visions played out in my image of mindscape while I was having these traumatic reactions of like bodily, like my body being on land, being traumatized by the experience of being a trans woman, having to face reality in the collapse of like having a career that is, you know, like artists survive by support of their communities. Like that is what it means to be an artist, is like you take on the responsibility to devote yourself to the human experience.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, you say, no, I will through nor rain nor shine nor like, to a certain point you're fucking painting out there. You're like, I'm fucking painting, you know, like George O'Keeffe took a Jeep to paint those mountains. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it meant something.
Well, and that somatic, when you talked about that somatic space, and I've actually been reading Viola Spolin's improvisation for the theater. And she talks about, and that, you know, you're talking about the community of artists, you're talking about covens, and she's talking about the community of players who are looking to open up a creative space in which everyone is intertwined. And she said, I'm switching mind and body. Body contains mind. And I thought that was really powerful, because we've been taught to think since Newton that the mind and the body are separate mechanisms. And the body is like a sort of a meat puppet or robot controlled by the mind. And that's so far from reality. As we know, you know, our bodies are going to be in this space and manifesting all these things, whether we're conscious of it or not.
There's right? Like a constant plasma of karma that we're always walking in, that the dead and living are constantly negotiating. Like, I'm like, I don't know if people feel that, but like it's around us, you know, like that's why like walking on your property was really quite a treat. So thank you so much, Brightflame, for hosting us up here. It really has been very nice. Like when I was walking on that moss, I'm not lying. Like that
springy moss.
That springy moss felt so good throughout my whole body. I was like, wow, I haven't, because like in the valley, like I love the valley, but those sidewalks are crooked because we're like, you know, we're in a valley. So I'm like, man, my spine column is like, my hips are shifted. I mean, New York City's the same. We're always like on a slight incline. I'm like, why is one hip an inch higher than the other? And it's because like we're always walking on an incline. The valley's the same. It's like so treacherous walking the hills. I'm like, why?
Just to flip the paradigm a little bit, I don't like to call this land property, because forest is kin.
Yes.
This wooded area is kin. And yeah, there's a piece of paper that says I own this, but really I don't own this. Right? So, forest teaches me all the time and touched you both
You
as we
belong
were
to this
walking.
place rather than the other way around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like when there was that triangulation of sticks and monument on that spot where the light hit the ground so lusciously and gloriously during our walk. I felt a resonance at my heart chakra, like I was like, oh my God, this is where you see the little fluffy bunnies, and you're just like, ah, like AI can't do shit about that, like, you know what I mean? Like, no movie, no script, no nothing would ever resonate in the experience of just enjoying a nice walk with some friends and just like having the time to just, let's be honest, make art and hold space and have a lovely meal and actually activate our networks and do the things we want and support each other in these moments where we're all transforming and finding ourselves and living on in that solar punk kind of mentality where we proactively in amongst this thing resist with what we can, like you said, like we work with nature, and I think it was like I had a kind of, there's a point where you're just like, yeah, there's nothing more important than working with and serving for and the goddess and this kind of protecting the nature and the mother and the community, and what that looks like for us is different internally.
And I could tell you're very energy sensitive, so both of you as visual artists are weaving the tapestry of the future through your art. You through your poetry, Gaia, as well. And I'm a writer. I'm doing it with words and other means, but we're all weaving those futures, and it becomes this tapestry that we'll just keep doing that, even though there's all the crap going on. But as much as we keep doing that, we're influencing others to keep doing that.
And anybody who's ever been young and lost and found a place to land where they could be their true self because others had come before them and created that kind of a space knows how life-saving it is to just hold that space, just to hold that place. It sometimes it feels selfish and lonely if you're doing it all by yourself.
Well, the thing is like people make fun of me for like committing my life to art and not committing my life to like a family or like a husband or like let's buy a house. Like my ultimate quest since I was young was to find my heart and soul and light and life and like and live like truthfully and honestly and enjoy life. Like, oh my God, like when I looked at light back in the 90s, it just shined differently than it does today. And now, recently in my life, it has been shining the same as it did back then.
Wow.
Which is surprising because I have been very nihilistic about a lot of things for a long time. And only now have I stabilized enough in my body where I can use that dissociative kind of trauma I have from my family of origin, like that kind of innate ability to just dissociate, which is how like someone who's trans happens, is because they're just like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna dissociate, and then like their whole life happens and they're like, what happened? And it's like because they were dissociating hard. And it's really weird when you come to terms with those things and you're just like, oh, like ancestrally, like I just feel like this patriarchal thing is literally this weird miasma that is just it's still stenching the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Like it's something you have to actively ward off nowadays. It's easy to like see. You can kind of feel it in people. You just know when someone's like, oh, this person is not well. Like
That reminds me, I wanted to ask you, Brightflame, if you would describe how you see the egregore, and as the definition of the word, but also as the egregore that we are in conflict with now, or that we're contending with now. I want to hear how you describe that.
Well, I mean, an egregore basically is when a group, well, particularly group of humans, come together and form something, do something and meet over time. An energy of that group will become its own energy, its own entity after time. So it'll stay around, right? So there's, covens have egregores, but so does the Veterans Association has an egregore,
And the Ku Klux Klan.
all these things. But
yeah,
what
there's
I was
good
talking,
egregores and there's bad ones.
Yeah, I
and
mean, they're not really-
It's not really anything. It could be neutral.
it's not good or bad necessarily. It's just it has an energy, and if it keeps getting fed, it'll also have agency.
It gains an
And so
autonomy, yeah.
What I was talking about in the novel is the greater egregore of patriarchy.
Right.
Basically, like it's in everything. No matter where you live on this earth, it's affecting you.
Yes.
And we're not going to step outside of it. Our thing is to work within it and keep ourselves what I call bright, which I bring
Yes.
out in the novel.
Yes.
It's not like bright versus dark kind of a thing. There's a certain definition I use of brightness in the book that I hope you'll all read. The Working.
It's a wonderfully written book. The characters are so compelling and believable.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, they live on. They came to me with their stories, basically. I mean, that's how a lot of writers
Is there
work.
going to be another sequel?
Well, only after it finally was published, I found a publisher and it's out to the world, did I think like, oh, I actually can see writing and now what?
Yeah.
With the coven and who they now interact with and whatever. But right now I'm working on a nonfiction
Oh.
book
What book is that?
on Solarpunk witchcraft, based on workshops that I've been offering different places.
Oh,
So,
nice.
yeah, that's right.
And would you be interested in offering a workshop this summer at Book and Puppet?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah, sure. I mean, we can do that.
Okay, different time, sorry.
I love that space that you all have
I
created
know.
up
Yeah.
there. That's
thank you,
really community,
Thank you for the solstice ritual. It was really quite a delight to see that come together and have that for our community during the solstice, like having the flames come together and having them on the stage and just having a moment was like really, I didn't realize how powerful and moving taking some time during a time with even strangers. How really lovely it is. And I still have the candle with the symbol I engraved into the candle.
Wonderful.
So thank you.
We could do more ritual.
I would love
That
that.
sounds great, yeah. And by the way, just to get the word out, and maybe you'll know some people who might want to participate, but we are in the process of accepting submissions for our LGBTQ plus and allies art show for the summer exhibition at Book and Puppet. And so we're looking to really, give voice to the community, not just in Easton, but in the Lehigh Valley, not just in the Lehigh Valley, but in those we're triangulating
It would be
these two
great to do
cities.
the Northeast. Like everything in the Northeast would be great to like kind of the Lehigh Valley for some reason is like the perfect little funneling ground for it because like there's like all these mineral wells. Like there's for some reason nature and just how natural the natural things that are around here in Pennsylvania. I'm just like, oh, this is like an artist and craftsman's like dream.
It really is. It's an amazing place to create.
Which is probably why the Philadelphia architectural style of America is art, like craftsman style.
Yeah.
Like, and which is my favorite style because I'm like, this is so cool. Anyway, I have no idea where I was going with that, but still.
Well, we are running out of time here. We've gone
We're probably
40, almost 45 minutes
All
now.
right, yeah.
But I was going to invite you, if you would like to use this ringer to gong us out.
Please gong us out, yeah.
Gong!
See me hitting Guy on the head with the gonger. Gong us out. Does this work on my bowl?